Hey, welcome to Horton and Shamis on the record under the Porch Caucus
Under
Network.
porch.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Under. Yeah, well, we're not under
Back
the
in
porch.
junior high.
Well, we're back again. It has been a long break. We had some.
It's not our fault.
Yeah, we had a videographer. Actually, we had a camera issue, and then we had an audio issue, and
Russians.
the Russians stole our signal.
Yeah.
Along the way. So I think we got it worked out. We're in the lead laced surrounded room down here in the basement.
Asbestos.
You could call this under the porch and down here, because really there is a porch right there. So I mean, it ain't wrong.
We were under the porch.
It ain't wrong. That's the porch. Anywho, so we're glad to be back. We're keeping it real and keeping some stuff going, and hopefully updating everybody on what's going on in the state level, the county level, and what's going on around your neighborhoods and stuff. So as always, we want to give a shout out to a veteran. I think this is one of your buddies, right?
One of my good buddies.
And get this right. Major Butch Pasatis.
Correct.
Right? He's a veteran in the Army. I got a little rundown on him here. Is Major Butch Pasatis has over 16 years of active duty service in the Army and currently serves as a force management officer at the Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Eisenhower, Georgia. He previously served as the portfolio manager for air defense modernization projects at Army Futures Command in Austin, Texas, and also spent 4 years at the Pentagon on the People First Task Force and Army G3. Prior to joining the force management career field in 2019, he served as a field artillery and air defense artillery officer. He's been deployed to Afghanistan, Turkey, Iraq. So Major Pasatis has also served his local community as a youth baseball coach and mentor, earning 2 military outstanding volunteer service medals, totaling over 1,100 volunteer hours.
I was a better pitcher.
You're a better pitcher.
No, not at all.
He was probably better in the Army than you would have been, maybe.
He played at Furman.
Did he?
We were both left-handed.
Nice.
His brother played for the.
Here's what I say about obviously, we really appreciate all of our veterans. But here's what I'll say about veterans. When you go into the military, they teach you service before self and those kinds of things. But it always translates back to the community when they get out. I mean, this is one story. There's hundreds, thousands of stories of folks who are veterans that get out and they go to their community and they still continue to serve their communities with the training they had in the military. So, hey, shout out to the veterans out there. Appreciate everything y'all done and continue to do in our local communities. So,
Absolutely.
what you got to say about that, Horton?
Oh, he's a good boy. It's nice to know that we got guys like him floating around in the air up there, watching over us at night. And he's told me some stories from some things, and it's pretty crazy. But it's nice to know we have people like Butch
That's
in
awesome.
the military.
Thanks, Butch. Hope you're watching. Hope you tune in. I'll give another shout out to FCA. They, one of the big topics around the nation, and this is probably a national topic, but it's also state and local, is how do we get God back in our schools? Well, to me, you don't have to legislate that. That can be done at home, right? And then you have people like Donald Jones at FCA who goes in District 1 to these different schools and is preaching the gospel to these kids. And my family supports him. I know you've supported him as well. But just a shout out to Donald Jones. I'm wearing an FCA shirt today in support of him, but appreciate all you do. It's not an easy job, and he's always looking for people to help him out. He's funded by people like me and Horton, and so if you can reach out to him and help him and fund him in any way, that's how he gets paid. And that's how he gets to spread the word of God. So hey,
Yeah, it's all donations and everything like that. And this was my second year coaching FCA basketball out of Inman Mills with Campobello First Baptist, and we more than doubled from last year the amount of kids, and they had
that's awesome.
Start a new team. And while we're talking about FCA basketball, why don't we go into the book winner?
Oh yeah, there you go.
I just thought about that. So, we did the drawing for the book winner, and the winner was Rusty Pruitt.
He is the unofficial mayor of Campobello. If anybody doesn't know that, he listen.
Well,
He's
so,
a good dude.
So Rusty is the best. Rusty's the man. And how I tie that back into FCA is he does he does commentary for the basketball games at Campobello. And
I didn't know that.
he is hilarious. The kids love him. He calls out the kid's name and introduces them before every game. He's doing play-by-play, and he is just the best. So I guess while we're talking about FCA, Rusty won the book. He's the book winner, so we'll get that to Rusty.
Yep, Hillbilly Elegy, J.D. Vance's book. We're going to get that out to you. We'll be by your house and maybe drop it off to you. Hopefully you'll have it before this airs. Maybe not. And if you don't, we'll be knocking on your door soon, Rusty.
So yeah, Rusty's the man.
Yeah,
he does such a
I
good
actually
job.
saw him today getting off the nightmare of overdevelopment on Highway 9 at the Chick-fil-A. Yeah, he was there with his wife, and he said, "What are you doing here?" He was running the town. I said, "Well, I thought you were running the town."
Well, that's where you come in, Rusty. But yeah.
Speaking of Highway 9, what you know about Highway 9 and uncontrolled growth? Who in the world doesn't have a problem with that?
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you're reactive instead of proactive. And it's not going to get any better. There's nothing really enforced to make it any better. So why do we need to talk about it?
Well,
What do you want to talk about? You're not going to do anything about it.
I'm not.
No.
I'm already in the middle of doing it.
What are you doing?
Well, we got some things going on that we're going to try to steer growth because you're not going to stop it, right? If you're going to be part of the problem, or part of the solution, so I'm trying to be part of the solution. But there's overdevelopment everywhere. You have tracts of land, like you're going out to Gowinsville out of Campobello, 102 acres sold to a development, and they're going to build a bunch of houses. So how do we stop it there, Horton? What do we do about it?
Well, I don't necessarily want to stop it. I don't want to tell somebody when or how they can do their business. But, 3 years ago when I ran, I was a big proponent of performance zoning, and they've got it down in the lower part of the county in Woodruff, and I think it's been pretty well received down there. But basically, all performance zoning is saying, okay, well, depending on the road and what kind of road it is, that might dictate what you can do on that road. So it would not affect any current business, but it could potentially affect new business. And all performance zoning is doing is making sure that whatever is built there is viable, whether it be a 200 home neighborhood or a data mining factory for Bitcoin. Whatever they put there, they want to make sure that it's viable and that the county and the taxpayers not going back after the fact to fix it.
Isn't there a component of that deals with the neighboring pieces of property that they have to have input on that as well?
Yes.
So,
yes. So, I think when you talk about performance zoning, everybody kind of clams up because they don't want the government to kind of come in and tell them what or how they can do things, and I don't want that either. But give me another option. You can't just sit back and complain about it. So either do something or shut up.
Yeah.
If you're not a proponent of performance zoning, then give us something else. But until then, don't just sit there and whine. Do something about it.
Because right now, currently, I don't know. Here's how developments work as far as neighborhoods coming into, at least where we live in Campobello, Landrum, Inman area. They buy a piece of property out in the county. They go to the county and say, this is what we want to build. The county reviews everything, gets all the lots all surveyed off, and then they get it done, and then they come to the municipality and say, okay, we're done with the county. We're ready to go. They've approved all these homes to be built. We want to annex into your municipality. That's backwards, in my opinion.
You should annex then.
Because I know in Landrum, Campobello, and Inman, their building and what they require is much more stringent than the county would be. Because we have what they call a flexible review district, and that means that the developer can bring this piece of land into the municipality But then you have to go to the planning and zoning board, and you got to hash out what it's going to look like, and they can basically you're talking back and forth and negotiating what that's going to look like, which I think is a good way to make that happen. And if you have performance zoning and you have flexible review districts and all this stuff in place, you're controlling the growth and what you see. I don't think, like, people don't mind going to New York City. They like going to New York City. They don't necessarily want to live there, but they don't mind going to New York City or seeing some of these big cities. But it's not like you have developments of the same house multiplied times a million in the same house you can go in any neighborhood and find over and over and over again. It's smart, controlled growth that fits the area where you are.
Well, you got to make it viable. And then when you put in a 200 home neighborhood, let's say, all right, well, let's say all 200 of those homes are occupied. Well, how many people live in a home?
3, 4.
3 or 4 on that,
On
2 to 4 obviously would be the average. That's 800 people. You got to educate those people. You have to be able to put their house out. If there's a fire, you have to be able to police them, feed them. So it's making sure that it's viable. And
the taxes are always behind the development, because you build a house today, you don't pay taxes, real property taxes on it's called the improved land, for 2 years. So let's just say somebody builds a house in the city of Landrum. Well, Landrum won't see those taxes for 2 years. So they got the burden of dealing with the new built house and dealing with that budget shortfall because they have a new house they got to take care of it and they don't have the money for it yet. Same way with the schools. Same way across the board.
If you got 500 people moving into a neighborhood, what percentage of those, how many people there are going to go to the school?
A large.
30 to 40, 50 kids you just brought in, and it's a couple years before you figure out how to pay for them.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Give me something else and I'll run with it. But like I said, I don't ever want to tell anybody how to make a living. But
it's not
at some point, we need to try to be finding ways to preserve our rural way of life here. If not, then we're going to be another Highway 9.
Well,
and 76 will be another Highway 9.
I had a town hall, and one of the people at the town hall said, why don't you shut it off? Well, then you start infringing on people's property rights. And if I had the property, I always try to put myself in somebody else's shoes. If I had the property and I had 100 acres and somebody's going to give me 4.5, 5, 6, whatever it is, $1 million.
Well, how wouldn't they take it?
I'd have a hard time not taking that. I mean, what else am I going to do with property? Farming's going away. I mean...
Well, I think they voted on that last year. There was a bill in the House where they were trying to create a fund where they put really family farming land into a trust type situation and kept it. So instead of Peepaw and Meemaw die,
right,
and leave it to Betty Joe, and Betty Joe sells 100 acres for $4 million, Betty Joe could get her $4 million from the state and then keep that land as farmland, if that's what it was. And so then the argument is, well, do you use public funds to maintain somewhat private land? And at that point, I say, well, that's something you have to look at, because if it's real farmland, I'm not talking about we grow trees here to get the tax write-off,
right.
But if you've got crops on that land, then at some point, what do we need to do to make sure that crops stay on that land and that there's not 200 houses?
Well, what makes you think that what makes you think that that's not, how come that hasn't already gotten more traction? Because I know you've been...
Well, a lot of people...
I know you've been critical of some legislators in the state and where they're getting their funds to run for...
Well... there needs to be some people some names on the ballot.
What do you mean?
These ballots.
What do you mean by what do you
under the person's name running, there needs to be another little name in parentheses under it. But that's the argument: is how do you maintain that land if it's real farmland? Now it's got to meet certain requirements, but do you use public funds, public tax dollars to maintain this new piece of property that they just bought from Betty Joe?
And this is being proposed at the state
Well, it was last year. I was following it last year
So-
because I think we need to be preserving our farmland because there's only two people that are buying our farmland right now. That's developers in China.
So what happened to it? Did it just get dropped? Why are the state legislators not pushing it? I mean,
I don't know. I know there was some pushback from certain people about it because of the fact that you were using quote unquote public money to maintain newly
I mean,
purchased.
I guess my question would be, I know you've dug into some of the Freedom Party's funding for their re-elections and their campaigns. A lot of the funds that they are getting is from a developer, not developers, a developer. So, I mean, do you think that's a part of the equation, or am I being?
I think that is all there is to it. I mean, you look at all of the development around here, you know, and I don't blame the developer. If I was a developer, I'd be doing the same thing. Everybody, thinks I'm trying to, belittle the developer, but I'd be doing the same thing. If I could pay them thousands and thousands of dollars out of 8 to 10 separate LLCs for my own gain, I'd be doing it.
So
I'm not in that position.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to bring up a story that happened to me. And this is a deal with corruption and how corruption can happen. And this is why you need to elect people that aren't going to be puppets for other people. Even when I ran for state house, I got a nasty little postcard in the mail that had little strings on it and that I'm being a puppet for others, yada, yada. But here's a story about a man named Jason that got a phone call from a guy, a developer. I will not name the name, but that developer called me and said, "Hey, there is some land behind Landrum High School that is for sale. And we want you to represent us to purchase it because I have a real estate company. We want you to represent us to purchase it." Now, this company has another company that is in the real estate business. So why would they need me to represent them to buy this piece of land? And I said, well, I can't do that because that piece of land is in the town of Campobello, and that would be unethical.
You should have took the money you lost.
No,
You should have took that commission.
no. I got to go to bed at night, and I got to know that I did the right thing that day. And I am not going to be anybody's puppet. During the state house race, I said, I'm only one person's puppet. I'm God's puppet, and that's going to be it. And you can call my mama and ask her, and she's going to tell you that I had a hard time with that boy growing up. You ain't controlling him. So you speak of corruption, you speak of overdevelopment, but that's how it happens. They get these little starry eyes, cha-ching, cha-ching, money coming in. And in some cases of these legislators, they get the money coming into their campaign funds so they can run again. But I got beat over the head because I got funds from many different people. Outside
of the district.
Outside the district.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I guess when a large percentage of your opponent's contributions are coming from one person, it's easy to beat you over the head for that when nobody else is looking. Well, which segues into term limits.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about corruption, where's our term limits? We have elected officials inside of our district that have been here since 2016 and 2018. What has gotten better since 2016 and 2018? What has gotten better?
Congressman Ralph Norman. This is directly, you can go look at it anywhere. He's said it over and over again. He's the one that brought the Freedom Caucus to South Carolina. And do you know what he says? Three terms in the House.
Yeah.
3, that's 6 years.
Well, it seems with the Freedom Party that there's rules for them, and then there's rules for us, and there's rules for their opponents.
And you can't say that nobody's ever been on the bottom underneath your name under the ballot, because there's been 2.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, you want term limits?
But the voters spoke, and the voters chose who they chose, and I'm not sour about it at all. But it's very frustrating when people complain about things not changing, and just like you said,
show up in November. Cha-ching in November. Folks, y'all got to start voting in June. November in Spartanburg means nothing. The elections are in June.
So term limits elections are in June.
Hang on.
Wait,
The
yeah.
elections in Spartanburg County are in June. They are not in November. They are in June.
I'm on
Go
vacation in
ahead.
June.
Well, early vote. Call Biden. Send a vote in. Do whatever you got to do.
Early vote.
But the elections are in June. Here in Spartanburg. Now, I'm not saying that's how it is for other counties. I'm not saying that's how it is for the rest of the state. But in Spartanburg, the primary is the election, not November.
Oh, man.
Whoever wins the primary is going to win as a Republican in November. So that's why it's more important for you to vote in June than it is for you to vote in November. You don't have to vote for November unless it's president. I'm just being honest with you. Because in Spartanburg, whoever wins that primary in June, they can go vote for themselves in November, and they won. Start voting in June. Our voter participation is less than 15%. 12, 13, 15.
This is getting juicy. We upgraded this water to Gatorade. Hang on a second.
Yeah,
Hold your
see,
thought. I don't want to
I
interrupt you.
want to see how they make fun of me for drinking Gatorade. Let's go back to junior high and make fun of me for my Gatorade. But, folks, you got to get out and vote in June. November means nothing. Every 4 years, vote in November. But until then, you need to be voting every June. It doesn't matter if it's school board, county council, blah, blah, blah.
You say it
vote in June.
But you say it doesn't matter. Those things matter the most. Like, take, for instance, the sheriff of Spartanburg County, the sheriff of Greenville County. Who is one of the most powerful positions? What is one of the most powerful positions?
Sheriff is the highest elected official in our county.
Who holds the sheriff accountable?
Well, there's going to be debate there. It could be, you could say county council because they control the budget, but it should be the people.
Okay, so how do the people? Go ahead.
Well, what are we doing right now? Where's our sheriff right now?
Well, there's a problem, and allegedly, there's a lot of allegations out there about him. I personally think he's done a lot of good.
He's done great.
He's done good, but at what point do you? I forget the term, and you have a better memory than me. What time do you become the villain? And I'm not talking about Spartanburg County Sheriff. I'm not talking about Greenville County Sheriff. I'm talking about term limits and having people in for a long time. At what point do you become not the solution but the problem?
Well, I mean, look at it anywhere. I mean, look at it federally. You got Pelosi,
Chuck Schumer. I mean,
the
Biden been in forever.
Biden. I mean, why is Biden? I mean, how's he been in politics for 50 years?
Somebody's getting paid.
Well, they're all rich.
Which it should never be. If you're a politician,
you're making $175,000 a year, and you're worth.
How about Mitch McConnell? Oh my God,
he can't even. Never mind.
So, go back to
Mitch McConnell here in Spartanburg.
So go back to local though. There's you got our own Mitch McConnell.
We got our own Mitch McConnell right here in Spartanburg.
Go on. Oh God.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're terrible. So locally, there's no term limits, and we've talked about this in the town of Campobello. I actually got interviewed by the Post and Courier this week about term limits and what I thought about term limits. But the problem is, you can pass all the term limits you want in Landrum, Campobello, Inman, wherever. But if it's not at the state level, the next council that comes in can just chunk them out the window.
Oh, well, I might run on that if I run for county council. I might run, but I'll fix Philo, and I'll fix the taxes, and I'll put in term limits.
I'm going to term limit myself. I'm going to be done. I'm not going to stay in forever. It needs to be at the state level.
It's funny.
And who's going to do that?
How are they going? Why would they term limit themselves? And I've never been one for term limits until here recently, and I'm like, all right, I've had enough of the same people doing the same thing, pandering to me every 15 months,
PC,
every 3.5 months, every 3.5 years, every 15 months, and nothing is getting better.
That PC, pandering and cruising.
Cruise control.
Pander for a little while.
I'll get on Facebook and make a post
I got elected, now I'm on a cruise.
See ya. So I've always said we don't need term limits, but now I'm like, all right, I've had enough.
Well, it's just frustrating.
And Spartanburg's bad.
So
about
why? And some people,
electing incumbents.
some people would say you don't need term limits because the voters will decide.
And that was always me.
Okay, why is that not the case? Why can't that be?
Well, when you got voter participation at 12%, there's only
Bingo.
a certain amount of people that control that,
Bingo.
and those certain amount of people control how they vote. And that's the new establishment is going to control everything in this county.
I was asked during my interview with the Post and Courier, how many people do you have at your council meeting? And I said, about 3 or 4. And he said, how do you get more more participation at your council meeting? I said, man, if we put some stuff out there about raising taxes, we'd have it packed.
Yeah.
There'd be people out the door, I mean, people don't care as long as things are perceived or going as they think it should. And perception can be twisted by some really good marketers. And you have a saying, what's the difference between a politician and a legislator? I mean, the politician can really twist the skew in the minds of people.
Well, and it's easy for people now that aren't really involved, people that aren't watching this, doesn't even know this exists. They're, here in this area, it's going to be heavy Trump. And they're going to say, oh, well, Trump's in office and everything is hunky-dory. And while that may be federally, that is not the case here locally. That is not the case in the county. In fact, the new establishment, they're going against Trump. They're going against Trump's endorsees. And they're bringing in...
You mean the new establishment here locally?
Here locally.
Spartanburg County?
In Spartanburg County, the new establishment is going against Trump endorsees. And they're going against Trump policies. And they're leaning towards using Democrat-style election conventions. And so, yes, while everything might be hunky-dory with Trump, and I know, the tariffs got the market volatile, and it will be until we get that figured out. But after that, I think the market's going to scream, especially. But you're going to start to see everything calm down a little bit. But I think people around here are riding that Trump wave, and they're going to be in for a rude awakening the next...
Are they riding it to twist and turn and skew things?
No, they're riding it, and they have no idea what's coming.
Got it. Okay.
Just the average person. Yeah. And that's fine. If you're the average person, I'm not beating you over the head, but I'm saying if you're listening to my voice, you have to wake up, and you've got to vote in June. You've got to vet who you're voting for. You need to know what they stand for, where they're from, why they're here, why they're running,
and that's the
solution. They're on with.
And that's the solution, right? You're talking about the solution
to what?
To people being in forever and ever.
Well, I think that would definitely potentially help the need for term limits if people really knew what was going on. I mean, you can look inside of our district to say that the two people that kind of run this district have been in since 16 and 18. You tell me what's gotten better since 16 and 18. Taxes, growth, schools, roads.
Schools are getting to be...
Have they gotten better?
Well, as far as the education in Spartanburg School District 1, I think you won't find a better school
Well, now,
district.
School District 1 is as good as any district you will find, luckily.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
But they're on their way to infiltrating that and running it into the dirt.
Well, they have an uphill battle. That school board has an uphill battle. I mean, they're dealing with this all this overdevelopment that's coming in, all these new students coming in. Schools have not having big enough schools for all these kids, and I mean they're literally doing, I think, the best they could possibly do with what they have, and they are really good. I mean, I will put Spartanburg School District 1 up against any school district in this state. Absolutely. I mean, it is a phenomenal school system. I mean, it is really, really good. But they're fighting an uphill battle. I mean, it's not easy. And to your point, these people have been in our area for a very long time, but we still elect.
Maybe not on the school board, but
not on the school board. I'm talking about
not on the school board.
Not on the school board,
but people that control your district.
Correct.
Been here for a while.
Correct. It's time for them to move on.
You need to get a real job. You need to get a real job, buddy. time to get a real job. uh,
I mean, you have to look at their resumes, right? So what?
Look at the people's resume. Go to case record search and search their name, and then look at
hey,
their
listen,
resume.
But let's back up.
Look where they're from.
We're not saying they're bad people, right? We've talked about this at length. They're not bad people.
Not. Nobody. I don't think any of our elected officials in Spartanburg are bad people.
No.
They're crazy. Some of them are crazy, and they keep getting reelected.
Well, it's name recognition. It's, I think.
Don't vote based on volume of signs.
Well, you've got to have the right kind of sign. It's got to look just right.
Forget the sign. The sign's the last thing you need to be looking at. Listen to the debates.
Yeah.
Get involved on Facebook. All these people
Well,
that are in this circle we find ourselves in, we're all on Facebook. We're all outspoken, and I'd rather at least vote for somebody that's on Facebook that I could yell at. The people know who I'm talking about that I don't agree with, and I yell at them, and they talk to me back. Well, I appreciate that. I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect the communication. That's not the case on the county level.
Yeah. I agree.
I get patted on the back every 3.5 years, and then that's it.
We talked about that again. When I said I got an interview with the Post and Courier, we talked about that as well. I mean, so people have done, and I believe they went in with right intentions.
Absolutely.
And they were going to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
They did the right thing for a long time. They did a lot of good things for a long time.
Absolutely.
But at some point, there becomes a time where you need to sit down.
Well, with your health and your age, we just got over this with Biden.
You just need to sit down. I mean, we will celebrate you, and there's
We'll
no
got the cake.
there's,
Party will rent the caboose.
there's no shame in that.
We'll
you know?
rent the caboose.
And there's no-
Landrum.
And I don't even care about age. I'm talking about you've been in politics in one position for 10, 15 years.
I am totally against career politicians.
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't have some kind of public or private industry
That's the fuse.
resume, I'm not voting for you.
That's the fuse for corruption, in my opinion.
If you've been, if you just say, "Oh, this is," if you identify yourself as your elected title, I'm not voting for you. I don't care who you are. I'm not voting for you.
I agree.
Not now with everything we're going through. If you can't say, "Well, I've been running this business. This is my business. You know, I've been in this industry, and this is why I want to run," I'll vote for you. But if it's just, "Hey, you vote for me because everybody knows my name," you forget it. I'm done with that. So, I mean, you know, the flip side of that coin is, you know, you say, well, they're there long enough, they become corrupted, they become puppets trying to get money, blah, blah, blah. But the way it's set up is you can't have a school teacher be a house rep.
I bet you can get some better public funding for education.
Well, we might get recess.
Oh,
we might get that extra 2 minutes of
18
recess.
minutes of recess.
We might get that extra 2 minutes of recess, but
Not
you
if
can't
it's-
have a school teacher.
Not if it's raining.
Well, you have to simulate it in the gym. You don't have to do anything right now, according to some people. Just let them
Sorry.
read the Constitution.
I'm bad about interrupting you, Horton. Go for it.
Just let them read the Constitution all day. But you know, right now you can't have a school teacher be a House rep. You can't have a school teacher be a senator, and you can't have a police officer be a senator. So there's two sides to that coin. You know, most of the people down in Columbia are business owners or lawyers or partners. You know, they're in a position where they can step away for that amount of time. They're not punching a time clock. So I don't know what's the best way. Do we go back to horse and buggy like some people want, and we take our horse and buggies down there and legislate that way and scream and yell at each other with our wigs, or do we hit a button and hope that button we hit votes correctly?
If you do your research, like we said earlier, on these people's resumes, and they didn't work they had real jobs for, you know, a career in something other than, I won't even go there. But anyway, look at the resumes. Look at the resumes. And I don't know. I don't think you can change being able to get a school teacher down to the state house or the Senate. That's going to be, unfortunately, a very hard thing to do.
It's almost like people want successful people to represent them.
You don't say. Why would they want that?
If if you can manage your own finances,
Oh, really?
then maybe you can manage the finances of others.
If you look at the resume, where if you're looking at, do you look at the resume that they put out? Where would you find their resume?
MySpace,
I mean,
LinkedIn. I don't know.
I'll tell you what.
I guess you could send them a message on Facebook and ask.
So in my world, I have a real estate company, small real estate company, and we do property management and that kind of thing. And we look at tenants' resumes. You know where we look for that? Public court records. It's public information. I would look there too.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the whole. Don't just take their word for it. Look where they've been and what they've done.
Absolutely.
Don't just say I did this. I mean, FOIA. You can look up, get people's DD Form 214. I think
DD 214s.
you can see. So
You
can
got
see.
Ranger School tab.
You can
You
see.
gotta have that on there to be a ranger, don't you?
You got to have it on your DD Form 214.
Yeah. All right. Let's just make sure.
There's more there.
I was just making sure you gotta have Ranger School under education to be a ranger, right? Can't just be attached to them.
I don't know. What does Butch Pacetas say?
I don't know. You can ask Butch yourself.
Uh,
You want some of Butch, you can go get it.
I bet he'd have him. Too bad he's not here locally. He'd have him on our show. Think he'd travel here?
We could probably get him up here to talk about
Ranger
Stolen
School?
Valor and Ranger School.
Stolen Valor. That's a real thing.
It is a real thing. Now, we use it loosely, but to actually prosecute somebody under Stolen Valor, they have to claim medals or something like that they didn't rightly earn. So we use it a little more loosely than what it is, but finding a judge to prosecute Stolen Valor is one thing. But that's where the court of public opinion comes in.
Speaking of Stolen Valor, let's talk about the state house and the state taxes.
What does that have to do with Stolen Valor? That was the worst segue ever.
Was it? Was it? I don't know. Do your own research, but at the state
Do
house,
your own FOIA people.
yeah, FOIA your state house representatives.
FOIA people, if you need to.
You can. Where did you get that DD Form 214?
You can't get the DD 214. That's the thing. You can only be the veteran or the next of kin, and you got to prove why you need the DD 214. But you can request a summary of their service and everything like that. But no, I mean, you can't just randomly get somebody's DD 214 because it does have pertinent private information on it.
Did you know that Veteran Services now offers 2 representatives in every county now?
Shouldn't it be more?
No, they only asked for 2.
But it could have been more.
They only asked for 2, funded by the state.
Is that growing government?
That's our veterans.
That's a core function.
That better be a core function.
Okay.
All right. You won't see me lose my hair's going to turn on fire.
I'm just waiting to see the list of core government functions so that I know what's core government function and what's growing government.
Constitution, your state constitution.
Constitution and the state constitution.
That's right.
And in the Constitution it says we must pay for 2 new RSOs.
Not RSOs. These are people that
I
take care of our veterans.
Yeah.
Veteran Services.
Where's that under the Constitution?
That was just a state law they just passed.
They just passed it.
Just passed it. Somebody wanted. Never mind. 2 paid for. 2.
In each county.
They didn't ask for any less or any more. They only asked for 2.
In each county.
Each county. Taking care of our veterans. That's what I'm talking about.
Core function.
So
What about
that
our
was
children?
What about them?
Is keeping them.
What about my children?
Are they keeping them protected? Core function of government? And educated? And
Well,
healthy?
Well, it's my job to protect my kids, but
There's a lot of people's kids on mug shots.
a lot.
Keep that in mind. There's a lot of kids in jail right now. Just keep that in mind.
Yep.
I hope it doesn't happen.
I think it's the parents' fault for doing that,
For doing what?
for not watching after their kids and they get in jail.
Well, I think you can watch after your kid like a hawk, but you can't watch after that person over there's kid like a hawk that's doing something with your kid.
I agree.
That's funny how that happens, ain't it?
I'm just saying. I've heard some things about taking care of your family and making sure you're watching after your family and make sure you have a clean household and all that stuff, but it's hard.
I agree. That's
Being a
why
parent's
I like
hard.
having laws to protect my children.
And you don't know what somebody else is going to do, just like you said. Just don't.
Speaking of clean households, let's segue into tax at the
Taxes at the State House. Yeah.
That was
I
even
wonder
worse.
what's his name? Combs? P. Diddy? What's his name?
Well, it's Sean Combs, but
Sean Combs.
it was Puff Daddy, and then it was P.
Is he
Diddy,
paying
then it's Diddy.
Is he paying taxes in jail? Do he have to pay taxes while you're in jail?
Yeah, I'm
Incarcerated?
sure he's getting royalty money. Somebody's paying tax on his royalty money, I would imagine. So yeah, he's probably one of the only prisoners paying his way. I'm sure he's living good. I'm sure he's playing pickleball, and
P. Diddy's paying pickleball.
I'm sure he's playing pickleball. But
yeah, we were talking about, you got May 1st is the deadline for get your taxes in. We were talking about this the other day because we're both business owners. And man, the taxes you pay. I had zero problem paying my state tax because it was extremely low. It was extremely low, but the federal portion of what I had to pay was not at all. It was, and I pay taxes. I pay taxes for every check I get. I pay taxes for my business, and then at the end of the year, the federal government says you got to pay this big old chunk for taxes to the federal government. I couldn't stroke that check fast enough to the state because I was like, man,
I'll pay my state.
This is awesome.
I'll pay my state tax all day, every day.
All day.
Over, over what I have to, the check I have to send out to the federal government.
If you have never owned your own business and run your own business, man, you don't know nothing about taxes because you get taxed being self-employed. You got self-employment tax.
Yeah.
You want to do better for yourself and start your own company? Well, hang on. You're going to have to pay self-employment tax.
Yeah.
Does that even sound right?
No.
It doesn't even make sense.
No. Yeah. I mean, the overage I had to pay federally was it was 5.5 times what I paid state. And I don't mind paying
Mine was 20 times.
Yeah, well, I don't mind paying my state tax. At least I might see some of that eventually.
Mine was 20 times, and that's not included what I had already paid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've already paid. I'm W-2'd and 1099.
Thank you.
Money's been coming out of my W-2. It's been coming out of my wife's W-2. And you still have to stroke that check. So
I'm really looking forward to this new administration doing something different. Boy.
well,
But the state level, why are my taxes so low at the state level? I mean, they were very, very low. So now since you are a business owner, you do pay a different state tax than everybody else. So keep that in mind. So luckily, I'm 1099 and get my 1099s in. Mm-hmm.
And so you do pay a different rate at the state level since you do own a business. But the hot topic right now has been, the new bill they're introducing to go to a 3.99% flat tax. Now all the Einsteins out there scream and yell about a 6.2% marginal tax rate. And that's all they focus on is a 6.2 marginal tax rate. And they think they're geniuses. But all that tax rate it says that the last dollar you earned is taxed at 6.2%. So right now in South Carolina goes off your MAGI, which is your modified adjusted gross income. So if you got a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 children, they make $100,000. They can take their standard deduction of $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
They get $2,000 for each kid.
Mm-hmm.
So then, obviously, there's probably some other deductions right there, but we'll just keep it simple.
Okay.
So you take your $100,000.
All right.
Take your 30. Now you're down to 70.
Okay.
You take your 4. Now you're down to 66.
Okay.
So they would only pay state income tax based off of their 66.
Okay.
Now there's obviously other state tax deductions in there.
Right.
But for round numbers, let's say they're going in. They got to pay state tax on $66,000. Well, the first 35. I don't have the numbers with me. 3580, 0 to 3580 is taxed at 0%. So essentially, you take your 66,000 and you subtract your 35,800. I don't know what it is. It's less than
$35,000.
It's $3,500.
Okay.
So the first $3,500 of your
Tax-free.
magi is taxed 0. The next is taxed at I think 4%. So from that 3,500 to 17,000 is taxed at 4%. So then the rest of your money would be taxed at the 6.2%.
Right.
So most people's effective income tax, that is the percentage of what you actually pay in income tax based off of your 100,000, is 3.5%.
Now, this is your world. This is your wheelhouse.
Well, I mean, my world's not taxes, but
it's
I
investments.
can do math. I can read, and I can do math. And so, really, you're talking about a family of 4 making 100,000. They're down to only paying state tax on $62,000, and then 12,000 of that is taxed at 4%, and then the rest of that is taxed at the 6.2. So your effective tax rate in South Carolina is normally 3.2 to 3.5%. So even though we have a high marginal tax bracket, that just means that that 6.2 is what you pay on anything above $17,000 and some change. But it's off of your magi, your modified adjusted income. So it's really not as bad as it sounds. Now, everybody's going to say, oh, Horton's good with 6.2% marginal tax rate.
No, Horton be good with 0 taxes, but you got to have some level.
No, I'm not even saying that I'd be good with the 0% with eliminating the state income tax, because they're going to get it from your butt somewhere else.
Well, that's what we talked about.
Y'all got to wake up. The effective tax rate for Tennessee, you want to talk about the effective tax rate for Tennessee versus South Carolina? You want to talk about that? The effective tax rate for South Carolina, when you look at property tax, sales and excise tax, real estate tax, and income tax, is about 8.7%. That ranks 9th in the country. Tennessee, when you look at those 4, is 10.10%. It's 1.4% higher than South Carolina, and it's ranked 19th. So I don't want to hear this, we need to go to 0% income tax. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But Tennessee pays more tax than we do.
At the end of the day,
their sales tax in some counties is over 13%.
At the end of the day, this is what we talked about. You have a state to run. It costs X dollars to run the state.
91,000 people moved in last year.
You still got to come up with those funds to run the state. So you can you can say nobody in the state of South Carolina is going to pay taxes, but you're also going to be you got no services in the state, gone. No state troopers, no local law enforcement, no fire,
no stop signs.
Yeah, the electricity ain't running, no stop signs, no stop lights. Everybody's just going to be doing whatever they want to do. I mean, they got to. I know the House has got under a lot of scrutiny about it when it first came out, but they are still working on it. I mean, they announced it. They're still working on getting this to be a good bill.
Well, the problem is it's the first real tax reform this state has seen since the 1800s. The 6.2% has been up to 7%. And that's why we have FILO, because it's 10%. That's from the 1800s. Because nobody wants to go in and do their job in Columbia and fix it.
So somebody's trying to fix it.
And now they're finally trying to fix it. Whoever prepared that fiscal impact summary is an idiot and should be fired.
Terrible.
They should be fired. The 3.99% isn't as good as it sounds, because what they're wanting to do is do away with the magi, the federal deductions. They want to get away from a federal tax and go to a state. And I'm good with that, but they need to throw in federal deductions
right.
into that. I've sent proposals to many different state reps, and I was told
how the world you do that? You have relationships with some people?
It's real easy to send a message on Facebook to your state rep and say, hey, this is how I think you could tweak this to lower people's taxes. And you know what my House rep did? He said, you got it, buddy. I'm going to send this. I'm going to go over this with Ways and Means, and we're going to run your simulations.
But your state House rep is not the same state House rep I have.
That's correct.
I'm just saying.
But my state House rep is listening to his constituents and having my ideas as a idiot constituent at least have the simulations and the projections ran. So right now, that's what blew their bill up, is because they went away. They want to go away from federal, but when they did that, they got away from
The deductions.
the magi. Now, I've ran the numbers. I don't know where the Freedom Party is getting their numbers, and I don't know whoever prepared this fiscal impact summary got their numbers. The numbers I run still show people at the 66,000, a family of four at 66,000, their income tax is going down even now, even next year when they wanted to do the 3.99% flat tax with their SCAID, their SCAD deductions. So what I proposed was we increase the SCAD deductions, and then we bring in some federal deductions like charitable giving. That way we're still getting money for our tithe and any donations to FCA. I'm involved with Miracle League. I mean, I don't give to my church. I don't give to those to get deductions. I give to those because I feel like, you know, Donald is doing great things. I think
Sure.
Miracle League is a fabulous organization. Obviously, I like my church. That's not why I don't do it for the deductions, but throw that in there. Let these people that are tithing, giving to charities, let them, you know, bring that down, bring that income down. So the projections I ran, even at the flat 3.99% and the current deductions they have, still brought a family of $66,000 down.
And I don't think we're saying that is that criticizing what they did is a bad thing.
Absolutely not.
But what I am saying is, and I think you would agree with this, is I feel like there's somebody with a baseball bat behind a door, and as soon as they come out with an idea, bam, hit them on the
Oh, we
head.
can't do this.
Bam, hit them on the head again.
You know why? Because
I mean,
it hurts those people that have the baseball bat. It hurts them getting reelected when House Republicans pass something good.
I mean, it's
Democrats and Freedom Party, it hurts them when conservative legislation is passed, and they can't stand it.
why wouldn't they do what you did? You're not even elected. Why wouldn't they go to him and say, hey, I did some numbers here, and listen, I don't like what y'all came out with, but here's a solution, man. Can we work on this? You're not even elected.
That doesn't get you votes
Oh.
next June, buddy.
Neither does having zero money in your campaign account.
Yeah, we'll burn through that 50 grand. We're gonna cost some people 50 grand every 15 months. But but yeah, my House rep listened to me, passed on some of my ideas. They might be laughable ideas. They might be stupid, but at least he took the time to listen to one of his constituents. But yeah, everybody's so quick to criticize this bill, and it could be up for. I mean, I'm not defending the bill.
No, not defending the bill.
But what I will defend is the fact that it's the first piece of legislation we've seen that could save people money. When you couple that income tax reduction with the property tax reduction, which property tax is the dumbest tax in the whole world. I own both of my vehicles. I own both of my cars. I paid for them. I've got both titles in my safe. I owe Spartanburg County $900 something on my Jeep at the end of May.
Well, then you don't own it.
I don't own it, do I?
No, they can take it from you.
I have to pay $900 something on my Jeep.
If you're paid for your house, paid in full, guess what? You don't own it.
You don't own your house either.
If you had land,
You don't own your land
Yep,
either.
that'd come
I would get away with property tax and bump the sales tax up or something. I hate property tax. And the way they treat people that are struggling to pay their property tax is inhumane. It's despicable.
Well, you have people who have property, and these people die and leave it to somebody else. And then the people who inherited it don't even know they got it. They
Despicable.
don't pay the taxes, and then all because they don't even know they have to pay the taxes. And then next thing you know, it's up for a tax sale, and somebody comes in, swoops in, buys it for the tax amount, and boom, they lost it.
Despicable.
Yeah, it's awful.
So, but anyways, so they are, but they have cut property taxes by $800 million. So, you know, it's not a perfect bill. There's probably no such thing as a perfect bill, but it's a step in the right direction.
No earmarks this year, which last year the earmarks were $400 million.
About 420, I believe.
$420 million.
Down
from the year prior, which was $700 million. So no earmarks this year.
Get ready for your millage to go up.
Well, when you think of earmark, and somebody that's
Pork.
you think of
Pork.
you think of all these things
Pork.
that some that like. I keep repeating things from the Freedom Party,
Pork.
but the Freedom Party puts stuff out there like, they're financing, I don't know, gummy bears and all this other stuff, right? But those earmarks are not. They're going to fire departments. They're going to police departments. Some of these earmarks are well needed and for the area. So now that you don't have earmarks, who do you think is going to pay for some of these things?
The Freedom Ferry. The Freedom Ferry is going to knock on your police department. Here's your Tahoe.
I mean, we laugh, but it's sad.
Oh. Where's the fire? Here's your new fire engine. No, your millage is going to go up.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Freedom Party.
Well, they got a port, some kind of a port. They got a port
project.
website. I guess that's worthless now.
That's Stephen Frank.
Oh, his waste of his time creating that because now they don't have earmarks.
Yeah, I can't even get rid of it.
And he can go on there for 20,
I had
25. There's nothing.
I went back and forth with Stephen Frank on. Well, I didn't go back and forth with him. He responded to me, and I responded to him, and I hadn't heard anything back from him. We went back and forth together on X. I commented, I said, find you someone that loves you as much as the Freedom Party loves bashing Republicans. And he told me to grow up. So I sent him a screenshot of him on X saying he was just happy we could say the word retard again. I said, okay, bud. Sent that screenshot to him. I didn't hear anything back from him.
That's probably
Keep that in mind in June.
What's June?
I hope he's up for re-election.
That is the primaries in the
That's the
state of South
primary.
Carolina. June.
But just remember that. We'll make sure we get that. I'll make sure everybody knows that.
So these earmarks are not there anymore. Which
What a great thing. What a great
I
thing.
think that is a good thing. I think it's a good.
It is a wonderful thing. Now
think it's
I
a
get to
good
pay more
reset.
tax. Now I get to pay more tax.
I think it's a good reset too. I mean,
Yeah, perfect.
it's time to reset.
I can't wait
If
to help.
y'all want no friggin' earmarks, that's you.
No earmarks, fine.
Zero.
No earmarks are fine.
But I guarantee you,
I'll pay that tax.
you're going to be hearing from some fire departments soon enough, and some police
Oh, I'm sure
departments. And they're going to
fire
say
department, school district,
they're going to have.
first responders. I'm sure they love
I'm
that.
not bashing the fire department, saying they have needs that have to be met. These are going to get met one way or another, or you're not going to get the services that you all want. So there's that.
I hope you got a fire hydrant outside your house.
There was a statement, there's something about be careful what you ask for because you might get it.
Be careful what you wish for. Well, guess what? We getting it. The new establishment is making sure we get all of our wishes. So yeah, we get to pay more tax.
Speaking about the new establishment, we had a reorg happen. Got a whole new Spartanburg County GOP.
The new establishment.
They're running the Spartanburg Republican Party now. It'll be interesting to see where all that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. But I liked going to the reorg. I thought it was good. I learned a lot. A lot of people were involved, which was great.
Yeah, it was good to see
Yep.
people there.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. But yeah, that was got a whole new deal going on in Spartanburg. Probably gonna have a whole new deal going on in the next 2 or 3 years. Might see a lot of new faces.
Mm-hmm.
You look like you're over there biting your tongue.
People will wake up.
Yeah,
This is going to wake people up.
I think it's a good thing. I really do.
I do too.
I really do.
We've been infiltrated, and I'm hoping that this wakes people up. When everything's ran into the dirt.
Well, I
That'll
mentioned
wake
on
them up.
I think maybe it was the last podcast, when you run for a particular seat, or whether it be county, local government, whatever it is, when you actually end up in that seat, that view, it changes. It's not what you thought it was. Just saying. Anyway, I'm going to leave all of our viewers with a quote. My dad was a big-time fisherman. He was a carpenter, blue-collar worker, and he had this little fisherman's cross he used to carry around on his neck. It was just a cross a fish with a cross in the middle. And he did that on a piece of wood, and I have this thing framed in my bedroom, and it says, a quote is, "I have learned silence from the talkative toleration from the intolerant, yet strange. I am ungrateful to those teachers.
Pretty good.
I've never heard that again. I've never seen that anywhere else. But I thought it was a good quote. Well, thank you all for tuning in to Horton and Shamis. I really appreciate it. We're going to might have our next episode a little bit sooner than this one came out, but this is episode 2.
Are the cameras on?
We'll be doing episode. The Russians didn't get us this time.
Are the cameras on?
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Appreciate you.
We forgot to read our scripture before we make fun of everybody for an hour and 15 minutes. Did you? I forgot to read our scripture.
Yeah.